Perhaps it is worth mentioning what WASP is. That was introduced by Rafael Ostado before. The World Organization of Systems and Cybernetics. That is an organization that comes from 1969 and has had very distinguished directors and presidents. So we are now going to have in 2014 a Congress, our triennial Congress, and that is going to happen in Santiago de Chile, and that's the connection that we are making between Valencia and Santiago de Chile. Right. Let me just start this by introducing the problem as we have experienced it. The Queen's question. So the Queen's question at the London School of Economics in November 2008 about why few economists have foreseen the credit crunch. Two letters follow. One by Professors Tim Isley and Peter Hensley, and another by 10 leading economists. Professors Disley and Hensley argued that the failure to foresee the timing, extent, and severity of the crisis and to get it off, while it had many causes, was principally a failure of the collective imagination of many bright people, both in this country, in England, and internationally, to understand the risks to the system as a whole. So, understanding systemic risk was a key factor that was expressed by these two distinguished economists. The second letter suggested that additionally, economics have turned virtually into a branch of applied mathematics and had become detached from real-world institutions and events. So that was the view of these 10 economists. The key issue of these 10 economists is that in the previous letter, the distinguished professors had not considered how the preference for mathematical techniques over real-world substance diverted many economists from looking at the vital whole. Economists have failed to reflect upon the drive to specialize in narrow areas of inquiry to the detriment of a synthetic vision. So clearly, these economists who were not in the mainstream economics in the United Kingdom were already recognizing the systemic context in which all these problems happen. To this they added, what has been scarce is a professional wisdom informed by a rich knowledge of psychology, institutional structures, and historical precedents. What is the case is the narrow training of economists, which concentrates on mathematical techniques and the building of empirical and controlled formal models. These are the views of economists. I'm not an economist, so I'm not going to present this as my own idea. These are the views of people who are in the trade. So, not long ago, the Queen went back, not to the London School of Economics, but in this case to the Bank of England. More recently, the Queen was back at this issue while visiting the Bank of England. In this visit, she suggested that the Financial Services Authority, FSA, had become a bit complacent before the crisis. What she said was, people had got a bit lax, had they? She asked in regards to the banking regulators. A lot was going on under the surface that perhaps regulators weren't so focused on. One of the bank economists responded. So, clearly, they were recognizing that regulation had not been all that wonderful. that regulation has failed. And that's basically the point that I want to address in this talk from the cybernetics perspective.